Often on this channel, I talk about liberating yourself and not waiting for the world. Now, this might sound like something you've heard before. Like, oh, I don't really care about the world. I'm just going to do my own shit. And like, I'm not going to wait for the rest of you losers to figure. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying something very different. I'm talking about liberating your consciousness and being a good community member. I'm going to answer this question and then we're going to get into it. So it says, hey, I love this channel. I've been learning so much about how to express some feelings I have using the language you use. Where can I find a video of you explaining what it means to liberate yourself? I found that concept very interesting and I'd love to hear you talk about it more. Also, I've always wanted to find a video of you explaining the spoons concept because I understand it loosely, but it's new to me. I don't think I have a specific spoons video or liberate yourself video, but just to clarify, spoon theory was created by a disabled activist who I believe had lupus and has lupus. And she tried to explain that throughout our day, and this is very important, this connects completely to liberating yourself. You are only allotted like a certain amount of spoons, energy. And so I always kind of guesstimate that I have like 20 spoons a day, though that's not an accurate number. And it's like, how many things take a spoon? Brushing my teeth takes a spoon, waking up takes a spoon, editing videos takes a spoon, doing streams takes a spoon. And then by the end of the day, you either have spoons left over or you don't. And then sometimes you have negative spoons, meaning tomorrow's Brittany is gonna have to pay up, you know? And so I'm going to be in the negative spoons. And that happens usually on commentary week when I'm editing for 15 hours a day, trying to get this video, you know? I usually end up really messing up everything in my life just to get this video out, which is insane. But spoon theory really matters because it correlates with this concept of liberating yourself, which we're going to get into. So I'm working on a philosophical framework called The Levels. I should just introduce myself so when I clip this, people know my name is Brittany Simon. I do philosophy through pop culture, and I have a special interest in philosophy. My framework is an observational system. It's linked in the description. It's also kind of in the works always. But the idea behind the levels is that you're a person on the planet, and you exist usually within this core framework of the earth being the center of existence, and this is where all the twos exist, okay? Being a two is not good or bad. Nothing is good or bad. It's just a observation to know where you are. So you know if you want to stay there or do something different. It's a relationship with your introspection, and it's about having a deeper relationship with your biological experience. So there are 5 levels, right? And the idea is like when you get to this point, you're dealing with a completely different thing. So this point, the center of the universe is the earth. If you're a 4 or 5, the center of the universe is all of existence. It's not just about people. It's not just about the planet. It's about existing as a part of the whole universe. Because usually when we're born into existence, we think we're born in relation to systems of oppression or born into our family dynamics, or our whole life is supposed to be centered around being a good man or a good woman, or our whole life is, you know, the main character in our life. The way we see the world is usually centered around a specific bubble. So there's no problem with that. Bubbles are just perceptions, cultures, ways of thinking. So you could, you know, it just, again, when we have these conversations, language is going to be confusing, but if you have questions, just ask me. I'm going to use a real person story to kind of make this clear of how to liberate yourself, because, you know, when you exist in a world where so I'll give it a little bit of a drawing example first. So you're born into the universe, and you usually are born into a family. And your family is the first bubble you really conceptualize. And usually you're not even yourself yet. You're kind of the sibling, the child. You're usually in relation to, like, usually your parents, okay? And that tells you how you're supposed to show up in the world, right? And then you kind of grow up and you're like, but who am I when I'm not just my parents' child? And who am I when I'm not just a sibling? And then that's another part of the journey of having a bubble pop and a realization. On top of that, while you're still trying to figure out who you are as a family, then you start to figure out who you are as a friend, usually. Usually we have friends growing up. And then you try to figure out who you are at school. What kind of a student are you? And then you try to figure out, like, who are you at your job when you graduate, right? So when we're having these conversations, this is all in relationship to 2 bubbles. Now, what if you thought, okay, who am I in relationship to, like, the universe? Okay, the universe. That is a completely different game. And honestly, it's not even important. So you can ignore it because that isn't even the focus today. The focus about liberating yourself should really be focused on where you are in your journey. But first and foremost, you must liberate yourself from your family structures. Okay. So you're liberating yourself from the dynamic of your family, the expectation of your parents, your friends, your school, your job, and so on and so forth. And of course, this obviously incorporates romantic relationships, general socialization, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to give this example. Ramit did a recent show with a guest. This is actually posted this morning, so I watched it on my own, time-stamped it. I will teach you to be rich. Ramit, he's interesting. I like him. He's a liberal. He's a capitalist, but he's very anti-ICE, Trump, and very pro-LGBT, often features a lot of diverse couples. And he is very good at pointing out gender dynamics, how many times women are being thrown under the bus, the patriarchy. So, generally a good person, maybe not an anti-capitalist, but I'll take it. Okay. So I want you to follow along. I have it timestamped. We're learning about a young couple, kind of newly married, about a year in. A month before the wedding, the husband confesses that he has like $30K of credit card debt he didn't tell her about. She's shocked. They keep separate finances and they want to be a team. They just don't know how to. And so much of our relationship with money actually comes from what we learned growing up. So we think like, I'll be liberated when I make a lot of money. Well, this couple makes $180K a year and they're trapped. They make almost $200,000 a year. Mind you, she's going to school, and after she graduates, she'll make an extra $40 to $50K a year easy. So this is a couple who will make well over $200,000 a year, and they feel trapped. They feel completely trapped by their choices, their life, the way they were brought up, the way they learned about money. And I want you to see that happen. And then I want to explain to you why, in my opinion, not to make a prescription, but if you want, you should definitely liberate yourself from all of these frameworks in order to really start living your life to the fullest. And you will be a better community member if you do this. Let's watch and I'll explain as we go. Here's the first part of the story, about 40 minutes in. When do I actually get to enjoy my life is what the section's called.
That while you will achieve your goal, I know you will pay off the debt, that there's perhaps a lack of meaning behind what is happening here. And I also want to help you create a vision of money that is maybe bigger and more meaningful than we fill up account after account for things that may happen. I see you nodding, Sana.
Yeah, I think for so long I've operated where I have to fill up these buckets for everyone else. It feels like I know I don't spend on myself as much as I could. And so part of it's like, when I do have that, like, what would I spend it on?
You don't even know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, she is the technical, more responsible one in the relationship. She has like 30,000 saved. He has 4,000 saved. She's out of debt except for school debt, where she's getting extra masters, extra degrees. She has multiple degrees. He does not. Like, she is, the world is on this woman's shoulders, and she's doing everything over and beyond. And still, this is how miserable her life is, even though she is so successful.
Well, we can figure those out. Son, I noticed that you get emotional when you're talking about your family and about yourself. What do you think's behind that?
I guess the clearest example I could give, if you've watched Encanto, there's the sister Luisa who is super strong, but she also has a ton of things put on her. She feels like she's holding the world. It's a cartoon, but like I relate to her so well. And my family has always talked about.
Pause. Who you are in the story matters. I always say to be a whole human being, okay? Who you are in the story matters. She found a character in a story because we are story-based people. We connect with the characters and we identify with them because it's a real reflection of where she is in her life. Very relatable. And I'm glad that she was able to, she says, oh, it's a cartoon. It's a story. We love stories. We don't care if they're made for kids or adults or who the intended audience is. We love a story. And our life is a story.
About me in a way where like Sana has things figured out. Sana's an overachiever. She's really smart. And so I've always pushed myself. Push. And I know that it took a lot of sacrifices to get here from my family. And I want them to know that I appreciate them. Mm-hmm. And I guess I would say that like my income for sure, or combined income.
Like this girl is out of spoons. Just to bring it back to the spoon conversation, this girl is out of spoons. No more spoons to give. She's out. She's running on reserves she doesn't have, right? Okay.
Is higher than what my parents ever could, as hard as they worked. And now that I'm moving up in life, I can't move up and just leave them behind. And I have to take them with me. But it's a lot more effort and work to do that than I had ever anticipated.
The word that I'd used when I first met Sana and when I was starting to fall for her is that she's very impressive. Like everything that she does, she just does it exceptionally well. And I really admired that about her. But now as I'm living with her, I see, I guess maybe the cost of that and that the toll that it takes on her mentally and physically too.
Just imagine for a
Okay. 46. Okay, hold on.
moment that you grew up in a South Asian culture. Imagine that you were the oldest child. Imagine that your parents somewhat struggle with their finances and you make more money than anybody in your family. Of course, you are going to be expected to help them. And of course, there is no concept of saying no to your family. That doesn't exist. How would you react? You might react the very same way Sana is reacting. But deep down, she also looks at her own relationship and she's realizing this isn't the type of relationship that I thought I would find myself in. What is she supposed to do? That is where the struggle is. Feeling trapped by so many of these external expectations and not knowing where to go next. There is obviously something going on here. And up next, I'm going to ask her how she grew up with money. It's very illuminating.
Okay, let's skip here.
What do you remember your family saying about money when you were young?
My mom has this notebook. It's essentially a spreadsheet. She has a spreadsheet on paper where she has years of records. And she would like fill it out as she would pay bills every month. And so when I was flipping through her book, that I found out that we were in debt my whole childhood. And I didn't know. My sister and I didn't ask for much, but we got everything that we wanted. My mom was able to achieve a lot with the limited resources that she had. And then the biggest culture shock was just going to college.
Before we get to college.
My gosh. I didn't expect to cry this much.
Okay, goes back to the commentary video I just put out. Money is cultural, money is family, money is mental health. Money is not just this thing that capitalism is convincing you it is, like this game you're playing with your life. It is actually tied to so many things. So when I say liberate yourself from capitalism, I'm saying liberate yourself from thinking of money as the end goal of your existence. And also, you can't turn around and say, oh, my money is for the community. You must then liberate yourself from thinking you owe your parents this amount of dedication in an economy this shitty. Because at the end of the day, we're all adults in the room. And as parents, you cannot put this burden on your children. She'll talk about it later in the interview, but she'll say things like, oh, my parents tell me I don't have to help them. Well, then don't take money from your kid, right? But the truth is like they're bad with money. She says it, they never learned. They never really locked in. They always live above their means. They didn't figure it out, which a lot of us will have parents that do that. And then the burden is that now we'll have to worry about our parents. And we have been this is just to the immigrants. We have been told that this is a romantic, beautiful thing that our parents gave to us and we're going to give to them. And I think it's actually a trap of hierarchical thinking that ends up being put on kids who never wanted to sign up for it. So not only did our parents bring us into existence against our will, but now we have to pay bills for adults who didn't figure it the fuck out. And it's like, I would be happy to help my parents because I know my parents didn't do that to me. My parents did prepare. They did settle their retirement. If my parents need money, they're actually in a hard position. They did, and they were responsible enough to not put that burden on us as kids. And so if they need our help, I think we're more than happy to give. And I think that's like what I can ask for most parents is like, don't put this on your kids because you do not understand how hard this economy is. You don't understand what we're going to be facing. And by the way, they're double income, no kids right now, 188 a year, and they are mentally struggling. Now, I know the instinct from a lot of us will be like to judge them. You're making so much money. What are you complaining about? Because money has nothing to do with happiness. It has something to do with temporary happiness, meaning you're maybe letting go of some stresses. But if you have lifestyle inflation, if you are paying for other people's bills, if she's sending money to her family every month, it's not going to matter how much money you make if there's no money. It doesn't matter if you make $500,000 a year if your bills are $499,000, whatever. It doesn't matter because now you don't have any monies. The whole point of making more money is only good if you have a bunch of extra money, like a bunch. Because otherwise you're just one paycheck away from being in debt again. You're one paycheck, and they're in debt, by the way, because she went back to school. They're like in 100,000 something of debt. They're for school and his credit card and cars. So like, when we have these conversations, and I'm going to say, liberate yourself, I'm saying we have to start with family structures, right? So if you start with your family structure, let me just build you a picture really fast, and then we'll continue watching. Okay, so if you say, I'm born into a family, okay, this is your family bubble, and you say, I love you, family, but I'm going to go on my own way. This is like the adventure story. The dilemma is like, you're not going on your adventure to find yourself, to abandon your family. You're doing it to bring the wisdom back to the collective. The only difference is like when you get sucked into individualism, like American style, individualism, capitalism style, you go on the journey and you actually don't bring it back to the community, and then your community suffers. Same thing with parents who don't prepare so their kids can't go on this adventure. Like these parents are holding their kids back from going out to bring knowledge to the village. So the irony is like we all have to do our part so the cycle continues upward, or the cycle continues in a healthy direction. So you owe it to yourself to liberate yourself from being kept in the village and traveling out to then come back with the wisdom to the village to help the village grow. Like we need adventurers. And then when the adventurers come back, they can settle in the village if they want, or they can be the connection that the village has to another location. Like I'm in Europe, but my family's in America. I've now created like a connection. Now there's villages in multiple areas. And that's also the reality of people who move, immigrants, migrants. We end up building connection globally. Now everywhere our family goes, there's someone there. And that is like a big community. That's like when you signal like, I have a big community. There are Syrians everywhere. And I feels like I could go anywhere and I probably have somebody that I could know, or somebody who knows somebody. And that makes me feel better. But that's also my choice to even think about that connection, because I have other siblings who would never think about that connection as being important. But to me, because I wanted to liberate myself, I was always the black sheep, I was always the rebel, but I wanted to liberate myself to bring the information back to the community. Most people liberate themselves temporarily or slightly into individual living, which is a type of liberation, especially if you come from an oppressive family. But it's like a isolated liberation. So then it's not community liberation. So then we liberate ourselves. Hold on, let me get my paint back actually. The goal is, hopefully, it depends on your goal, but I would hope that we would liberate ourselves out of our initial bubble into greater bubbles, okay, in which it is not just us, but many people. And we would gather the wisdom around from all these people, and we would take it back to our village, but also our village could start to actually venture out and be like, oh, the world doesn't revolve around us alone. There's a whole world out there. And maybe these people from these villages can go into our village and take back information to their villages. Because it's not just our village doing it, it's everybody's village doing it. And then now you're not even just liberating yourself singular, you've now contributed to all of these communities liberating themselves as well. Because the idea is like we are sharing knowledge. The idea is like we are helping our communities, we're helping the world. But it has to start with you being curious and wanting to venture out and wanting to break those generational curses, those expectations. Because if you're not going to do it and no one else is going to do it, then how are we exchanging information? How are we sharing? How are we building? Right? So, okay, with that in mind, let's go back to this.
It's okay. Do you cry when you talk about your family in everyday conversation?
No.
Why do you think today?
I carry the weight of expectations on me, whether it's I put them on myself or my family put them on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I'm slowly getting crushed under it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how it's released.
This exists, and this goes back to what we talked about the other day, in your family dynamics and in your activism dynamics. You will feel the weight of this crushing pressure from the world and the atrocities you see in front of you and from your family dynamics. I went to therapy and I explained to my therapist, like, I feel such a weight from my obligation to help save the world and my obligation to help save my family. And my therapist was like, who told you it was your job to save anybody? And I was like, I don't know, the world, you know, like the world taught me that, you know what I mean? I guess, right? So again, when we have these conversations, we're having a conversation that recognizes like we're animals on a planet. We're only as educated as we are. We only know what we do know. But the best thing we can do is have the humility and the wisdom to be curious, to seek more information, to update our village as we learn as well, and then to radically accept that the world won't necessarily listen just because you're doing the work. This is the part of saying liberate yourself specifically, because like I can't get my family to listen to me just because I want them to. Like I can't encourage my family. Like even if I bring the village like the information, it doesn't mean the village is going to hear me. And that's why you have to liberate yourself, and you can't wait for the rest of the world to liberate themselves because they might not be ready. But you still should do it, and you should still tell them, and you should still give people tools, and you should still love people and be compassionate, because that's going to be the world forever and always. That's why I say bitterness, unwise anger, angry for the world is better than at the world. This is why I say like you calling people slurs is not going to liberate your community. It's just you're attached to this idea that maybe if I say a slur enough, they'll change, but they're not going to, right? So now you just have to live with the fact that you called people slurs. And now you're trapped. Now you didn't liberate yourself, because how could you be liberated and feel powerful using slurs against people if you want to live in a world where we don't use slurs against people? It's not to say that you shouldn't say a slur, period, because there's reclaimed slurs. There's a context for that. It's to say if we are using slurs at people in any context, then the conversation is like, is this ethical? It can be. Now, here's the nuance. It actually could be technically within reason, something like tone policing. Like you have a person who's really under a lot of pressure. They're really expressing themselves in a way that is like within context, fair. You know, it's not their typical way of speaking, but in this moment, they're just so upset. And you're like, okay, we get it. Like, you don't mean it, but you're okay. The dilemma is a lot of people use this like, they didn't mean it. They just said it, for all the wrong people. So we have to have the wisdom and discernment to know someone's in a bad place and they're really explaining something that's like, this is why therapy is so powerful, because you can say things to your therapist in the worst way possible, and it's their job to understand what you mean. But the rest of the world, one, they can't trust you. They don't know you. So it's hard for them to give you that grace. And two, even your friends and family might not have the wisdom or educational background to really understand what you're even saying. So they might even take you like literal. And then they'll be like, oh, remember that time you said this thing? And it's like, oh my God, dude, I didn't even mean that. I was trying to express an emotion, you know? So again, the reason we can't liberate the world is because there's 8 billion people all going through it at once, all the time. But you can liberate yourself, and you can try to liberate your family. And I do think it can spread to your village. And I do think it can influence your country. And I do think it can influence the world. But influence is not the same thing as changing, because the main requirement needed for all of this to change is for you to change, which we'll see in this dynamic. The world can't change unless you do. And that's the you is everybody, 8 billion people with new babies being born every day. Okay.
To express the feeling of having all these expectations put on you.
Most of the time, I'm great. I don't feel weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's just every once in a while, it just piles up.
Yeah.
And then this is how it really sits.
Yeah. How would you describe that?
That I have a lot of things on my plate,
Mm-hmm.
and that I try not to show it to other people. That I try to do everything without looking or sounding stressed.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to do that. And sometimes when I try to hide it from other people, that's work in itself too.
Yeah. You know, I don't get affected by stress like most people.
Mm.
I could take on a lot, like run a company, do all kinds of stuff. And for a long time, I told myself like, I don't feel stress the way that others do. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel it. And then my company went through a tough time and we had to do serious layoffs. And during that time, I found myself waking up gasping for air. I never had this happen in my life, ever. I went to see the doctor. Doctor looked inside my mouth, basically said, nothing's wrong. Do you have any stress in your life?
Pause. Guys, stress is going to kill you. This is why we're so tired and we're so stressed under the economy. But like, this is why I'm saying stress is going to kill you. And it doesn't matter, because you'll be replaced under this framework of capitalism. You'll be replaced. And this is why I'm saying we have to dismantle the system that's so willing to replace us. We have to dismantle the system that thinks we are nothing more than little robots meant to be stressed until we like collapse, right? So this is why I say liberate yourself by recentering and grounding yourself in a purpose, in a meaning. we were talking about this meaning crisis. Vicky talks about the meaning crisis. We are in a meaning crisis, but we've always been in one. There wasn't a time on earth that people weren't in a meaning crisis. And so now we're just very aware of it. It's like we're having the realization that like, oh, I think we're suffering. Instead of before, everyone just thought this is life. You ever meet an immigrant who's just like, this is life. Suffering is life. You must suffer. That's what you do. You go to work, you build. Okay, right? And I'm saying, but what if we didn't just live to unwisely suffer? What if we didn't sacrifice? What if we all lived the life we wanted, but it was also an awareness that we needed to be joyful and ethical and kind and compassionate? But stress is going to kill you. Women get heart attacks just as much as men, but the typical stereotype is that men are getting heart attacks. Women die of heart attacks all the time. It's just media convinces you they aren't, but they are stressed. We are all stressed. And so when we have these conversations, you have to be aware that it's not even a gendered issue. It's a we are stressed issue. We are stressed. And this is why I say we have to learn to rest. It's something I'm always trying to work on. We have to learn to accept like, oh, I'm stressed right now. And you're going to be stressed. Like that's a normal part of being a biological creature on the planet. You're going to feel, including when you watch the news all the time, or including when you keep up with stories, like it's very stressful. The dilemma is like, it's always been this way forever. So you do deserve a break. There is going to be no time in history in which there is not a genocide happening, in which there isn't a bad thing happening, the idea that like, how can I rest when something bad is happening? Guys, there's always something bad happening. The Palestinian genocide has been happening for 75 years. You weren't stressed 30 years ago. You weren't stressed 20 years ago. You just found out about it and now you're stressed all of a sudden, but it's always been there. Okay. Like it's always going to be there. The issue is like, you must rest and accept responsibility and show up for your community and accept that all of these things work at the same time always. 8 billion people on the planet, a lot of bad shit is happening all the time. That doesn't mean you give up and shut yourself off. So the person who hears me and goes, oh, Brittany says I can liberate myself. I don't have to pay attention. I don't have to care and I can just be isolated and I can go about my life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying isolate yourself from the realities of life so you don't have to be responsible. I'm saying learn to be responsible by being responsible with how you're being responsible. Don't take on too much burden that you collapse. Don't take on so much of the responsibility that you're alone. Be responsible with how you're being responsible. So you can be a good community member and good to yourself.
I laughed. Like, yeah, I have a huge amount of stress, but I simply never connected the two because I don't feel stress. And I remember walking out of there. I was in my mid to late 30s and being like, for the first time, I realized, as silly as this sounds, oh, I'm just the same as everybody else.
Hold on. Chet says, sounds like a joke. Just rest. How does a poor human being rest? I'm going to assume you're being good faith, right? Like, this is a very serious question. And you're saying, how do I rest if I'm poor? Define poor. Because are you poor or are you middle class suffering under this economy? If you're poor, it's a very different answer. If you're actually poor, it's a very different answer. If you're middle class and struggling under the economy, it's a different answer. If you're rich and suffering under the economy, it's a different answer. So first, you have to acknowledge, are you poor? Do you think you're poor? Because you might be poor. Also, poor is subjective, but it's really specific because like these people are making $180,000 a year and they are stressed. Like they are making 180 and they feel like they're poor. So are you poor? Or, okay, that's very important, right? Second is you need community. You can't do it alone. Without a doubt, we need community. And this is why we must liberate ourselves and reach out for community. Like one of the things that helped me in my liberation journey was to realize that I had expectations of every person to be sort of like the media I grew up in or my ideal situation, instead of being so grateful for casual friends I just do bowling with, friends I have deeper relationships with. Like when I took my autism assessment, my assessor asked me, do you have a lot of friends? I was like, yeah, I have a ton of friends. He goes, how many close friends do you have? And I said, oh, like a handful. That's good though. You're not supposed to have 10 close friends. You're supposed to have a lot of people in your community that you can go to for different reasons, if possible, because you build community with people. But realistically, you're supposed to have a handful of close friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very close friends that you really go to. And even when I say go to, it could still be a stranger could give you the best advice of your life, right? So it's about balancing this idea of like where you're at specifically and then what tools will work for you. So of course I'll speak more generally today. I'm not sure that everything I say will resonate, but it will change for you. Okay. It just depends. It depends on how we're operating and how much money we're making and like what our life is like. Because again, I'm not making much more than I ever made in my life, but I feel more rich now than I ever felt making the same amount 10 years ago because my mental health was a mess. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't focused. I wasn't locked in. I didn't know my purpose. But the money for me changed. I did have to, if you're really poor, you have to make more money. That's true. Okay. But your money isn't just something you make. It also ties into your childhood, your upbringing, your expectations, why you're making money, why you don't have money. Do your parents have money? Do they teach you about money? Right? So at some point, if you're not making enough, you do have to make more money. But it's not about making money. This is a philosophy channel. It's about why you make money, including why do you wake up every day? Why do you exist every day? Why do you keep going every day? Right? So again, it's a matter of what is your relationship with self before it is what is your relationship with money. Does that make sense? Chat says, I realize when look at rich people houses this year with 100K, you can maybe get a 400K McMansion. So probably not 1 milli house, 100K, 200K is the new middle class. Well, and I think this again goes back to like, what are we identifying as? This is important, who you tell yourself you are in the story, right? Like she tells herself she's strong and capable and doesn't feel stressed most of the time until it piles on and then you're really feeling the stress, right? Chat says, what if you've fallen through the safety net? My family has fallen apart due to interpersonal conflict and gossip. I don't have friends because I'm invested in family and now without support. Well, I think it's nuanced and dependent on your situation because I don't know it very personally. I would say that it starts with you meditating in a room by yourself. This is where you start to become, and we got to keep watching, guys, because this is going to come up in a lot of this conversation. You got to decide, are you living for you or for your family? You must always live for you first, always. And then you live for your friends and family. If you're married, you live for you as a couple first, and then you live for your community. Because these are different kinds of dynamics. They have to take priority. You deserve to live for yourself first and then your community. Because the truth is, your community will be hit. Your life will be stressed. And one of the things we can do for our community is take care of our side of the street. And so when we come together, we can really help each other in times of true need, right? So there's a lot here that I think needs to be, I don't know how much of it is relating exactly to your exact backgrounds, but keep it in mind, right? So let's keep going and then we'll get into it.
I'm just the same. I may have a higher threshold for dealing with certain things, but I'm just the same as everybody else.
I know I am too.
Before you went to college, what was going on with money in your household with your mom and dad?
My mom, for as long as I can remember, has always managed the money. In adulthood, I learned that when my sister and I were really young, like my dad had taken out debt at very high interest rates, and my mom studied math, and so she understood what the cost of that was. And so she said, you know what, like you work a lot, so why don't I take care of this for you? And so she managed things to get us out of the debt.
Mm-hmm. This sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah.
Like identical.
I know.
She's repeating her background. She's repeating her story. She is her mother, right? She married a man who lied to her and got debt without telling her. They also keep their finances separate so they don't fully trust each other. There's layers to this. Who you marry matters. Who you make babies with matters. How you're open with boundaries, relationship with your family matters. And this is why I say when I liberate yourself, I'm going to make you one more picture, okay, before we continue. Okay? Again, this is layered. This is everyone's coming from a different place. Remember that. When you liberate yourself, it is yourself alone. Okay? You have to do it alone first, but no one ever does anything alone. So you also are a product of everything that came before you. Whoops. Okay? So but it is just you. You are meditating in a room by yourself and saying, okay, what do I want? And how do I show up for my community? You're saying, what are my actual values? What do I actually want from my life? What will actually make me happy without being selfish, without it coming at the expense of other people? Think about it as being a queer kid. As a queer kid, I had to say, okay, Brittany, what do we want as a gay kid? What do we want with our life? Well, we want to be gay. Even though there were times in my life where I was like, I won't put that pressure on my family. I'll just marry a guy. It'll be easier. I said, no, I need to live for myself and love my family at the same time. I deserve to be with the woman of my dreams if I want to be with the woman of my dreams, right? Don't I deserve this? Don't I deserve to marry the woman of my dreams? Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay. So I have to live for myself. It's unfair to ask me to do otherwise. And yet I have managed to marry the woman of my dreams and be there for my family with boundaries, right? With boundaries, right? Chad said, what if you have BPD? I have BPD. I'm diagnosed BPD. DBT, lots of philosophy, a lot of awareness of self. Look up Marsha Linehan. I don't know if you mean borderline or if you mean bipolar, but I have borderline, or I was diagnosed borderline. I'm in remission now, but 80% of borderline people go into remission, guys, with the right therapy. So when you're ready, okay, DBT, philosophy at the same time, and ethics. You're born into a world where you don't know anything. You also have to decide, who am I? What are my ethics? What is my purpose in existence? And it's a journey. It took me 30 years to really start to solidify my values. 30 years. 30. So you know what I mean? And then it started my journey, really. I'm 7 years in, I'm 37, of really starting my life. After 30 years of trial and error and debt and failure. And I just made a video about finances and philosophy over on my second channel, Bert Simon, BERT. And it covers a lot of this because, girl, I've been there, out of debt, in debt, credit score 400, credit score to 700, credit, $10K saved, $0 saved. I've been every single girl you could ever think about. Okay. There is so much hope at the end of the tunnel, but it takes so much work. So be kind to yourself, be compassionate, and then one day at a time, right? One day at a time. Okay. And I'm the oldest daughter, and there's a lot of burden when you're one of 10 kids. Let me tell you. Jess says, how long did it take for you to start feeling like you were getting anywhere with answering those questions? I'm only 25, so maybe just too young. But every time I try to ask myself these questions, I get stuck in life. Is even ethical to live? And then it gets depressing fast. I'm very serious about that 30-year-old age, guys. At 25, I was a messy mess. If you are already here at 25, I feel like you're years ahead of where I was at 25. If you're already part of this community on a daily basis and you were listening to these streams, I feel like you're already ahead of where I was at 25. Okay? So that's the good news. Good news. Because it really was 30. I was reading all these books and I was engaging in all these communities, but I really didn't even truly find myself until I was 30. And even then, I just met her. I just got to know the girl, okay? And then it took me, I'm still learning to know myself all the time. So I really, really want to give yourselves a little gold star. You know what I mean? Because, you're in a great place. You're not going to figure it out when you're 25 unless you're going to figure it out when you're 25. Some people figure it out when they're 25. Beautiful. Some people figure it out at 40. Beautiful. Everybody's on their own timeline. But if me figuring it out at 30 gives you hope, stay hopeful. Because I feel like I was old, but at the same time, I'm 7 years into that journey and I'm feeling more alive than I've ever felt my whole life. Getting older just gets better. My sibling was just telling me they love getting older because it's further away from their toxic years. Exactly. Nothing better than getting older and further away from all the years you fucked up. Because there will be a time, guys, where you're in it and you're like, damn, I'm fucking up. And then there's going to be a time where you are so far from that era of your life, you almost don't remember it. It's like you almost don't even know who she was, they were, he was. You know what I mean? You're just like, who is that? And that's what I want you to get towards, right? But you see this couple here, they're in their 20s, they're young, basically newly married, about a year or so in, and they're in it. They are in a spiral, but here they are, multiple degrees, 180K a year. They've accomplished so much of what I'm sure many of you would want, and yet miserable because they're carrying the burden and they haven't liberated themselves from the burden of just their family dynamics alone, let alone the burden of the world around them, right? Okay, let's keep going.
Your mom studied math. What did you study?
Also math.
Your mom managed the money, made a lot of plans of getting out of debt.
Yeah.
That happened. Although I will say, Arham, you made a plan as well.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I could solve it for Arham today.
Mm-hmm.
I could pay off his debt today, but it is his. And I do want him to take away the lesson of what it takes to do that. And like, I've tried my best to hold myself back as much as possible. But at the end of the day, this is Arham's work to do.
That's interesting. This is quite strong of you, creating a boundary, saying it's important for you to learn this lesson. I could solve it today, but I'm not going to. That's amazing. Have you ever
Pause. Before he gets into the next topic, which is really good. I couldn't do marriage this way. I couldn't get married to somebody that I watched suffer getting out of the debt they created when I knew I had the money and savings, or I knew I could help them. Because I don't want to be on a team with someone who puts me through this anyways. A month before they got married, he confessed he had $30K of debt. She shouldn't have married him. The truth is, she married the wrong person because she married a person who lied to her. And now she has to deal, just like with her father, she married her father, a person who lied to his wife about taking out all this debt, or a person who accrued all this debt while the wife was stressed, right? So even though I want them to work on their marriage and I'm not always a divorced girly, I just feels like compared to the marriage I'm in now, oh my God, guys, like I cannot even explain to you what an intimate process it has been getting out of debt with my partner. And it was my debt. My partner didn't come with debt in the marriage. It was you guys know the story. It's my debt. And it took us 3 years to get out of that debt. 3 years of living, and I don't recommend this, very frugally. It was very stressful. Like it was the most stressful thing. And when we had 8 months left, I locked in with my partner and I said, the next 8 months is going to be very, very stressful, but we're almost done with this debt. Spoiler, it actually took us less than 8 months because I got a couple of good paychecks and I just put every single extra penny towards that debt. And we lived very frugally, we haven't bought clothes. We haven't gone out. I just told you, I got we are now debt free and we have some spending money, but our spending money is still just $20 a month or $20 a week. I mean, $20 a week is still just our spending money a month. You know, and what did I do? I created art. The moment I had some extra money, I started getting back into my hobbies. Boom. I started drawing, but that costs money, And so I think a lot of people, there's like a process to this, but they're already married. They're in it together. But I think the reason, and they get into this, is like she doesn't trust him because it's not fully healed. But that's the problem. So that's why some people say, Brittany, you need to separate, you need to have separate finances in case you marry a man like this. Well, I just wouldn't marry anybody like this. And then if they were lying to me, then I'm just a victim of a scammer. Right? Then I'm a victim to a liar. But I wouldn't marry somebody who confessed to me a month before our wedding. Hey, I lied to you. Heck no. But I recognize not everyone can do that because by the time I got married, I was also at a different place than she is. She hasn't even liberated herself from her parents. She's paying her parents' bills. She hasn't even liberated herself from her family structure. How is she not going to marry a man who would take advantage of her if her own parents are taking advantage of her?
Applied that same thing to your own family?
No.
Why the disconnect?
See, he said, okay, go listen.
Creating a boundary, saying it's important for you to learn this lesson. I could solve it today, but I'm not going to. That's amazing. Have you ever applied that same thing to your own family?
No.
Why the disconnect?
My mom single-handedly runs our home and she tries not to show her stress. And I know I learned it from her. I want to do as much as I can to take that stress off of her. And so even though she tells me not to help them with rent, I know that they can figure it out. But I don't want, I also know that my mom would be the one to figure it out instead of my parents together figuring it out. And so I don't want that extra burden on my mom. And so I try to reduce it for her.
Does it work?
Yes and no. Every single month she tells me that I feel guilty from taking this from you. I, as a parent, should be giving to you. But I tell her that no, I want to, that I promised that I would. And I'm
See, in that situation, I think the mother is failing as a mother. Both her parents, as far as the story goes, are able-bodied and available. Not that you can't be disabled and work, but they're more than capable of going out and providing for themselves, let alone for their kids. Right? So the fact that she's like, oh, I feel so guilty taking this from you, but she's taking anyways. If she sees this podcast and sees how distraught her daughter is and doesn't change her life tomorrow, what are we doing? Now, I understand I don't really believe in free will, and I get that. So I also think the mother and father are probably trapped in their upbringing, their thought process, their own trauma. God knows they probably haven't gone to therapy. And so that's also a dilemma. But one of the things I'll just say generally is before you have children, please do not burden them like this. This is so unnecessary when everybody could be laboring for the community. It's all falling on her shoulders. So now she has a husband who can't keep up, parents who can't keep up. And then even later in the interview, he says his dream life is also being able to provide for his family. I'm sorry, are you guys rich? They make $180K a year. They're about to make $220K a year. They're not rich enough to pay for 5 people, 6 people, 7 people. Hello? Get a job. Everybody get together and get a job. Or everybody participate in a way that makes sense. But like, why is this one single woman? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we putting it all on her shoulders?
I'm gonna live to that promise.
It's interesting. After you got married, you effectively told Arham, if you don't make a plan for this and deal with it, this relationship can't continue. You said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You set a boundary, maybe even changing the terms of your promise. And what was the result of that? What did he then do?
Arham's learning now.
Yeah. He's going through some tough times, but he's made a plan. He's executing on it, right?
Mm.
You changed the terms of your promise. And the result has been, would you say negative or positive?
It's positive.
Very positive. And yet you can't change the terms of your promise with your parents, specifically your mom.
Listen to her reasoning. Listen to the reasoning. And this is cultural conditioning. This is why I say you have to first liberate yourself out of your family dynamics. Wait until you hear her reasoning, right? And yes, they're both working, but because of their financial situation, she's the more responsible financial partner that more people rely on. So they are both working, but he's not available to help.
Even though your mom has told you every single month, don't do this.
Mm. I don't know if this is going to make my sense, but Arham and I are partners. And so I expect of him what I expect of myself.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents are my parents. They're above me. I don't expect my parents to be the same as me and Arham.
It's interesting. There is a hierarchy, but we might look at it and say you treat them almost as if they're below you, below as if they couldn't figure things out for themselves, like a child. I don't mean to insult.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not coming across. I'm very sensitive to the South Asian dynamics here. I'm very well aware of them. It's, it'd be easy for somebody who's raised here with no cultural knowledge to be like, just cut them off.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what I'm saying.
Right. And that's not what I'm saying either. That's not what Brittany is saying either. Because I understand these dynamics are very complicated, but I'm saying liberation is complicated. It is not easy. If it was that's why cutting off your parents is not liberation. That's why saying, fuck the world, I'm going to go live by myself and be a crypto bro is not liberation. Because that's copium. I'm saying this is a very hard process. It's going to take a lot of work, right? It's going to take so much a deconstruction and you have to you almost have to become a brand new person. Growing up in my household, I was second mom. And then I was told oh, anything the kids do that is bad is Brittany's influence. And so you're so strong, Brittany, you're so inspirational, you're so amazing and smart. You can influence the kids to be better or worse. And it just feels like you're always influencing the kids to be worse. Mind you, the worst is just gay or liberated or liberal or something or whatever. But I think the dilemma is here, you don't know how much that impacts you and how much you have to free yourself of that burden and say I'm not going to do that anymore. I am no longer going to be responsible for this. And yet I still feel very responsible for my siblings. I still feel a lot of stress when my siblings tell me, oh, Brittany, I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Oh God. Financially in the back of my head, I already made a list of the siblings and I'm like, we're probably gonna have to pay their bills later, but that's only in an emergency. I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm saying it's nuanced and you still deserve to liberate yourself. And it's okay to ask the people in your life who are adults to get their shit together. You're allowed to say, Mom and Dad, I love you. Get your fucking shit together. I love you so much. You got to get your shit together. It's okay to tell your siblings, I love you. I'm here for you. You got to get your shit together. Okay.
When you say hierarchy,
And if you need help, we will figure out that help. Like I said, not everybody has to bring in a paycheck. It's not about everybody paychecking. It's about everybody laboring. Everybody must labor for the community. Not everybody does not need to bring in a paycheck, but everybody must labor for the community.
you see them as above you because that's what we are taught. Parents are above you, teachers are above you, et cetera, et cetera. But in a way, your expectation for Aram has raised his abilities, raised. And yet the way that you have built this financial relationship with your parents and your mom especially has not raised their abilities. Fair?
I would say that because I'm able to help them every month, their quality of life has gone up because they are in a nicer place now than where we lived before.
I think that's totally respectable. How about your quality of life?
My quality of life is also better than where I was as a child, but I'm also under a lot of stress.
Thank you for walking me through how you grew up with money. I think it's very illuminating.
Okay, I want to say a couple of things here. First, let me just double check my next timestamp. Okay. First and foremost, there's 8 billion people on the planet and all of you have your own issues. And I could never in one video cover all of those issues. So remember, I'm giving you tools to take back to your real life. This is just like a class you're in to gather information and then go home and see what works. This is not me saying it has to be this way. You have to follow this script. I'm just telling you what has helped me and what I see when I'm observing others, and why I say like liberation is such a personal and intimate relationship with self that does better your community because you're more available. I'll just say this too. It's not about how much money you make. I really believe this. You do have to make a certain amount of money, but it's not exactly the amount of money you make because they're making 180 and they're stressed, right? Look how stressed they are. You see people making, I saw a lesbian couple the other day on Ramit's show. This is I Will Teach You to Be Rich for those asking. And their net worth was 6 million and she was still stressing about money. It's mental health. It's related to your family structure. It's related to fears of the economy. It's not always about how much you make. I will tell you this, to be generally transparent, but not like to the number. Generally, I make after tax 55 to 60,000. And I am very happy. And we survive with 2 people. And we're completely content. Okay. Do we have to save up for a lot of years? Yes. Do we have to be locked in? Yes. If I was locked in my 20s, would I already have a house by now? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, I would. Yeah, I would, bitch. But I wasn't because I was battling my mental health and I was battling my family drama and I was battling all the stresses. But I've always made about that much money after I always worked multiple jobs. Okay. When I only had one job, I was making about 20K a year because minimum wage. But if I had 2 minimum wage jobs, I was making about 40 to 50K. And then if I had 3 jobs, I was making about, I was always making that money. But when my mental health got better, when my philosophical health got better, you just make different decisions. Like, hell yeah, I would have had a house. If I had this brain that I have now today, all those years ago, I would have had 4 houses, but I didn't. So here we are with 0 houses. Okay. But I've always made good money. All my siblings are middle class. We've all made good money out of high school. Okay. Even in our worst years, like my worst financial years, I still could have done more with it than other people if my mental health was better. And that's why I say being a whole human being is your relationship with your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your philosophical health, and who you are in the story, right? This girly here is just not there. 180K and she's miserable. 180K and she's in debt. 180K and she can't pay her bills. 180K, it's not how much money you're making unless you're making very, very little. Okay, and even then, can we just lock in here? What about the community members that make $0? Does their life not get to be fulfilled? My partner doesn't make any money. Do they not get to have a good life? They don't make any money. So you can make $0 and be very joyful and content with life. It depends on the role you're playing in the story. What about stay-at-home partners, stay-at-home parents? They don't make any money, not technically, but they contribute, they labor for the family. So if you have the type of family where all of you live in the same household and you all contribute to the bills, that's a way to do it. That's something, okay? Or if you have a family where one person works and everybody labors in a different way, that's another structure. Or you're a single family with a single person and you have a single income and then you labor for your family, that's valid, okay? So that's something to think about, right? Chad said, I think it's sad we have to pay for our existence. What is the system we built? And that's the irony is like, look, okay, pause. Take capitalism out of it. If we didn't have capitalism, we would still have to labor. The thing that makes it hard is the systems of oppression, but it would still be hard without them. And I think this is very hard for people to allow for it to be true, but I'm telling you right now, life is really hard. Please consider that before having children. It's not easy, no matter what. It is simply joyful. My life is easier, but it's still very hard. And it's joyful. The suffering I experience is more joyful, a sense of responsibility, but it's still fucking hard. It's hard. Existing is hard. We keep telling ourselves one day existence won't be so hard. It's always fucking hard. It can't not be hard. The only reason it's easier is because we have privileges, but it's not less hard. People are still going to die from cancer. Your brother's going to shoot his brains out. Your child's going to come to you and tell you their teacher touched them. You're going to have a genocide. The economy's going to take a dip. Like, you're going to have to contend with your father who's a racist. Like, you're still going to have to deal with real shit. It makes it easier when you have a good income. But even with my income, I don't have a lot for a true emergency. Guys, that's why I say to you, next emergency, if I get a big enough emergency, I'm back in debt because I don't make that kind of money. But the stress level is different. When I was in my 20s, it felt like, who cares? I'm going to kill myself. Now that I'm in my 30s, I was like, what are you going to do? Life. It's stressful, but like, what are you going to do? Life happens. And then you die. But at least now I know what it's for. I understand the purpose of my life. When you don't have the purpose, everything gets fucked. So yes, you liberate, because this stream is about liberating yourself without expecting the system to be liberated, because it's not going to in our lifetime. You don't deserve to live a shitty life until you can't say, I'm not going to wait to live until capitalism is dismantled. You can't wait. You can't wait. And then also, you can't tell me we live under systems of oppression and you keep making babies. If the world truly thought, genuinely your heart of hearts, the world was as bad as you say, why are you making children? Make it make sense. Because secretly, you could still have a good life even in a horrible world. I think you know that. I think something about your brain, or maybe lack of free will, knows somehow we end up having still good lives even though we're suffering. And for some reason, for most people, that's worth it. They like being alive. I'm pretty indifferent to existing, but if I'm going to be here, I really need to have a good life, right? So when you think about it, you got to think about it. And also, we're trained. It's a cultural thing. It's an expectation. But that's why I'm saying you need to deconstruct even the need to make a baby. You need to deconstruct the need to, I'm saying question everything, but don't put it on other people yet when you're talking about liberating yourself. Liberating yourself is internal processing, guys. It's an internal process. If you had asked me, Brittany, can you make a stream about liberating yourself from, like, liberating society from the systems? That would have been a different stream. But I'm trying to tell you how to liberate yourself as an individual so you can be a better community member and better to yourself. It has to be all in here. It can't, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions? Okay. Because I know this might be confusing, but you're asking this is a big question you're asking me, and I'm trying to answer like a really big fucking question, right? Okay. Let's see. Chat says, the poor mentality of even when you get to the better financial places, saving like jars and Tupperware because it's perfectly good containers. Well, talk about learned behavior for sure. Like hoarding, I had to learn how to like not hoard everything in case I needed it later. That's something I had to unlearn, right? Chat says, when poor people become rich, their network around them isn't rich. And this is the hidden cost of progression and poverty. Those trying to progress in their community have more costs. Sure. Yeah. Like, I've definitely lost friendships as I got healthier. I lost friendships as I became a better person. That happened, right? You lose community all around you. I haven't talked to my parents since November, open with boundaries, because we won't talk about family trauma. And I need to talk about that before we move on and pretend everything's cool, right? I still talk to my siblings and try to help them, but like it's complicated and I don't talk to all of them anyways, right? Chad says it's kind of like in Buddhism with enlightenment from the way you explain it. Absolutely, right? Before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. And after enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. It's a radical acceptance that you are truly a living being in the universe. And there was nothing inherently special about your existence, but the uniqueness of you can never be replaced. Before enlightenment, we chop wood and carry water up the mountain. After you are enlightened, you're still going to have to chop wood and carry water, girls, up the fucking mountain. Okay? This is the imagery of Sisyphus we had earlier. You're going to push the boulder up the hill either way. You can either learn to hate it the whole way and be bitter, to let the boulder roll back down and squash you, okay? Or you can learn to find the joy in pushing the boulder up the hill. But you will push the boulder up the hill, no matter who you are in the universe. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or somebody in poverty. Everybody has a boulder. The question is your relationship with the boulder. So what the billionaires do is they convince you to kind of push the boulder for them. And you sit there and go, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to push my boulder and their boulder. And I'm saying, why are you pushing their boulder? And you're pushing their boulder because of the way that you've been conditioned in society to help push their boulder. But they still have the burden of convincing you to push their boulder, which is a full-time job. Marketing to you is a full-time job. That's why they hire those people to do it. And I'm saying, stop pushing these billionaire boulders. But you say, Brittany, I have to do it because I need to buy from Amazon. And I'm saying, I hear you, girl. But as long as you support these politicians, engage in Amazon, engage in these conveniences, which is ironic because the stress of your life, you're just like, I wish I had somebody to help me. Oh, I'll hire someone, convenience, which is then it becomes a business. And then now something as simple as cleaning your own home, which could have been something you could have done, is now allocated out to a group of people that we say is the bottom of society. And now we can offer them less money while the rich people make more money so poor people can clean their houses. I'm saying regardless of who you are, regardless of how we exist, we are all the reason the world is the way that it is. All of us together. And I'm saying that is such a humbling realization to go, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. Because if it wasn't me, if I was the only special snowflake person who existed that was perfect and everybody else was horrible, then what was so unique about me that I was perfect? Nothing. I'm like the rest of everybody else. Okay? Trust me. And so that's why I say like liberation for yourself is very hard because you are the oppressor. Like when you're liberating yourself, you are the oppressor. When you're liberating yourself from the system is the oppressor. And I'm saying to liberate yourself in a system of oppression, you first have to liberate yourself from the chains or the cage you've put around yourself. So look at her, look at this girl. Let's go back. This girl has put a whole box around herself in which she's carrying the burden of her family, her husband, okay, the future of his family, everything on her shoulders. And her family keeps saying, hey, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. But she keeps doing it for two reasons. One, her family's lying. They absolutely want her to do that because if not, they would be grown-ups and say, don't pay my bills, which is why I'm very strict about who pays my bills. Because if at any point somebody offered me money, I'd be like, how much do you have in savings? Why do you want to give it to me? Why are you doing it? Because I would never let my sister do this. I would never let my daughter do this. I would be so angry at myself if I saw this video of my family member and they were this stressed over paying my fucking bills. Fuck no. Fuck no. Absolutely not. Okay? And the fact is that this is a real person with a real stressor, and people are not taking on that responsibility of saying she should not be crying over paying my bills. This is ridiculous, okay? Especially when we know we could be capable of helping. Ridiculous. But let's keep listening because it gets good.
Caveats attached to it.
Nice.
Arham and I talk about like, it'd be so fun if we joined a league together and learned a new sport together, but it always keeps getting delayed.
Why?
Because it feels like I have to take care of everything else first before I can treat myself to that.
Sorry, what am I doing with my body? What am I doing with that?
I should throw it off.
So tell me, what's one thing you want to throw off?
I want to create a little bit more unstructured time where Arham and I have a weekly set time of we're going to both do something.
What's something you do right now that you would be willing to not do anymore?
I would love to not have to spend one day a week cleaning our apartment.
Okay, so interesting. Okay, right? And I did bring up cleaning your house for a reason because I knew she was going to talk about this. She wants time to not have to clean her own house. But the fact is, we should have enough time in our day to clean our own houses, even though it's like a full-time job. And the fact that the system doesn't allow us time to clean our houses means that we allocate it out to somebody else. But then how much are we really paying for people to clean our own messes? And it's not because we're disabled and we need the help. It's because we're stressed and we don't have the time. This is different. And the question is, why are we so stressed that we don't have the time to clean our own house? And so this is the question about systems. But then this is why we say, okay, how do I bring down the mess in my house or bring down the need to, how do I organize my house so I have less stress about cleaning my house? Because I'll just let you know, I hate cleaning my house. It's the worst time of my day. I don't even do anything really. I only have one chore. My partner does the rest, but we hate it. We hate cleaning. Both of us hate it, but we do it because we're adults. But I don't like it. And do I want someone else to do it? Kind of, but not enough to actually do it because I don't really believe in the system. Unless I need help, unless I'm chronically ill or disabled or I truly am stressed, I don't want to live in a world where somebody has to fold my laundry. I don't want to live in a world where somebody has to clean my dishes. I just feel like that is not the world I want to create in my home, in my safe space. But again, if you need help, 100% hire someone, girl. If you need help moving a refrigerator to clean underneath it, hire somebody, girl. Hire somebody. Okay, so know the differences.
That's it. That's the easiest thing. Okay, I love it. How can you make that happen?
We would love to hire someone to help.
That's one option. What else?
I find it a little interesting. I think that she's saying that she wants more unstructured time because when we've talked, last year was very unstable, very chaotic. And I think that the reason we're doing better now is because our weeks are so.
Respectfully, when I heard, when I heard him say this, I yelled so loudly that I was sure my neighbors heard me. Because I wanted to be like, you are so bad at listening. You are so bad at listening, bro. She did not say that. That is not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Did anybody think that was the same thing? She said she wants basically free time where nobody needs her so they can actually do what they want to do. And he heard, well, last year we were in complete chaos because there was no structure and you didn't like that. You are so exhausting.
So structured, stable, very chaotic. And I think that the reason we're doing better now is because our weeks are so structured. But now I'm hearing what Sana is saying, that maybe there can be a little bit more leeway, more unstructured.
Is that correct?
That's why I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to each other. I'll just listen.
I mean, our walks are definitely one of those things. I would just like to add to our list of activities that we do together.
Can I ask a question? I love this. I think you should.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you two are having a discussion about 2 hours a week for a couple with no children that makes almost $200,000 a year?
The practical answer, I think, for one, is that we both work full time. She goes to the office and she's also in grad school right now. So a lot of her days really are taken up in work and then school on the weekends. And then we see each other's families. And then before you know it, the next week starts right there. And so even talking about 2 hours of unstructured time feels like we have to carve it out of the week because it doesn't seem to freely be there.
You agree?
Yes. And then also there is a cost of joining the league. It's not that much. It's a couple hundred. But
She wants to join, they want to do sports together.
it's just that delayment of gratification where it's like, let's pay off this debt and then we can join the league versus I could probably just do it next month.
Does it feel good sometimes to restrict yourself?
Yes, because then it feels like the reward is bigger at the end. As a student, there's always more that you can do and you can always be better at what you're doing. So if I put in an extra 3-4 hours into studying, I can be more prepared and then feel like it's easier when I walk into the task.
Are you seeing the connection with why I'm bringing this up?
Yes, because I do it with my finances as well. Like I see the end goal and then I try to put all the work for it forward thinking. And so I unload myself now rather than.
It's not about your money.
It's never about the money. So you're going to liberate yourself by recognizing that you're one single person on the planet, doing your best, holding yourself accountable, living by your values, organizing your morals and ethics, showing up in the world that you think is the best way possible, and recognizing that you will fail time and time again to live up to this ideal version of yourself because she doesn't exist. And also, you can free yourself from all of the voices in your ear that tell you you're not perfect, you're not who you should be, you're not modest, you're not moral, you're bad for the world. As long as you're living up to your values and it is and does coincide with your joy, then it's never about the money. It's never about anything really. It's always about your relationship with self and then your relationship with everything outside of self. So when we liberate ourselves, we're saying, I'm going to continue to deconstruct this expectation and also liberate myself from this feeling of shame that the world has put on me because I shaved or I didn't shave my legs or armpits today. This is why I don't think shaming works. Like, why are we shaming women for not having or for not shaving, right? Like, what does that mean? That doesn't make sense. Okay. Or why are we telling people they're not living up to a standard because they didn't get into super shape after pregnancy? Or why are we living in a world where like, oh, you make a lot, but you don't have money to do anything because the economy's changed and inflation is insane, right? Like, her brain that goes, I'll just work harder. That used to be my brain all the time. Oh, I'm burnt out and tired and breaking down every 2 years. It's okay. I'll just get another job. I'll just work harder. I'll just add one more thing to my plate where I'm so stressed and somehow my logic will tell me it will get better. It doesn't. You take something off your plate, something that wasn't your burden to carry, like paying her parents' rent. This should not be her burden to carry. Okay. But you have to unlearn that because a lot of us grow up in immigrant households where the dream is, I'm going to make enough money to pay my parents' house off, or I'm going to make enough money to pay your parents' retirement. This should never have been our burden. In an ideal world, we shouldn't be in this position because at the end of the day, adults made us and brought us into the universe and they are responsible for being the adult in the room. So we infantilize our parents because our cultures have taught us to infantilize our parents. And it takes a very, a crazy amount of self-awareness to recognize that that's what we're even doing. We're infantilizing the adults in the room, and therefore we infantilize the voters who vote for Trump, and therefore we infantilize the leaders who lead us, and we infantilize the president. Old people are just ignorant and stubborn, and that's why they're racist, because that's just how it was back in the day. So we're infantilizing their ability to deconstruct and introspect and be better. Oh, well, they're old now, so, and... You know, you're the adult in the room. Let's go. And now that I'm 37, I'm definitely the adult in the room. Let's go. Okay. And so again, this is all connected. It all connects.
It's about your relationship.
Oh.
You say that you want time together,
Mm-hmm.
but when I ask, why are we discussing 2 hours a week for a couple making multiple six figures with no kids? And there's a very set of logical reasons. We have family, we have work, we have grad school, we have all these things. But ultimately, it's the same principle you've been applying since you were a little kid. I need to work. There's more I can do. I need to do this and then this and then this. And finally, I will be in a place that I can do it. The same thing.
Finally, if I just get to that place, then I'll start living my life. And that's why I say to you, liberate yourself now so you can start living while you're in debt. Liberate yourself now so you can start enjoying your life while you're getting out of debt. Don't pull a Dave Ramsey and, Dave Ramsey says, if you have debt, the only reason you're inside of a restaurant is if you work there. Okay. My partner and I did not do Dave Ramsey. I like his steps and everything generally, but I did not do Dave Ramsey with my partner because we did close to Dave Ramsey, like beans and rice. We did close to Dave Ramsey where we only went out to a restaurant every 3 months. But I'm just going to tell you this right now. It was mentally taxing. It was so hard that Dave Ramsey's solution, though on paper is very logical, it is completely fucking psychotic. It is just only a very specific kind of organized autistic person could do this. And I am not that kind of autistic person. I'm the other kind of autistic person, okay? I'm sorry. It's too much. But even my partner and I, the way we restricted ourselves, it was so, we feel guilty over spending $5 I'd be like, bro, that's $5. I can't spend it. And then it would eat us up. It would eat us and we would feel so guilty that I was like, oh no. I'm not going to live my life like this. I refuse. So we sat down, had an intimate money meeting because it is intimate. And I said, I love you. I can't live like this. And I know you can't live like this. We cannot feel guilty over $5. I refuse. So I said, let's do this. Let's lock in. Like I said earlier, we're going to get out of this debt and then we're going to give each other fun money. Okay. As we build our savings, as we build our 3 month emergency, as we build towards our future, we need fun money. So how much do we want each? You know, it's like, oh my God, I felt so bad, right? Chad said my issue is that I don't feel guilty over 5 to 15. Well, let me tell you, in my 20s, girlies, I didn't feel bad over 15,000. In my 20s, I didn't feel bad over 30,000, girl. I was like, slide that credit card. I was like, buy that car. You know what I mean? Like in my 20s, you couldn't have made me feel guilty for shit because I was going to kill myself. So you know what I mean? It's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. You know what I mean? Okay.
It's coming up over and over and over again. I don't know that you see it. So just to put it very bluntly, you two are going to make a lot more money. The debt's going to get paid off. No doubt about that. And you are going to recreate some of the exact same dynamics that you saw your parents doing. Not just with money, but a lack of connection.
Yep.
A lack of a vision. Your worldview right now is so deeply embedded in the idea that you need to be in control of everything and that you need to do A, B, C, D all sequentially, that you'll do that until the day you die. And guess who will observe that? Your kids. And then they'll just do the exact same thing. What is the rich life? You told me vacations. You told me the bagel shop. What is it with the two of you?
I guess I would love to do more things together without a checklist running in the back of our head. Like,
okay, so just FYI, even in my life, I live with my partner and I work here full time in the house. And I'm starting to feel like, man, I never see my partner. Like, what's up with that? You know, our sleeping schedules are different. Everything is a little off. And so I would catch up with my friends once a week because that's the only time I have available, Sundays. And then I realized that especially now that I'm disabled, I really think that's playing a big role in this. The physical disability, it just really wipes me out. Where before I never felt it, but I don't know. Who knows? I can't know. My life was so different then. Who knows? But when I talk to my friends, I'll catch up with 2 to 3 people every other Sunday, and that's it. That's all I can do all day. I can do nothing else. I can't go out. I can't go to a restaurant. It's just like, and I love my friends. So that's not a bad thing. That's just the reality of socializing. Like I can't. So my partner wasn't getting any time because every Sunday was being filled up with friend calls, because by the time I was done doing friend calls, I didn't have the spoons to hang out with my partner and I would just be in bed chronically ill. So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I switched it. I did every other Sunday, my partner, it's called date day. And then every other Sunday, it's my friends. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. And it's working out. It's really stable. It's really consistent. It means we always have a Sunday to look forward to that's just for us, and no one else needs me. No one else is calling me. Nobody else is doing anything. And it's just him and I, and we get to decide what to do with the day, whether it's laying together or watching anime or doing art together, playing Overwatch or whatever we're doing it just him and I. And it's really nice and it's really great and it's really working out. Because yeah, you would think like, how hard is it to spend time together if you live with each other? But it's actually really hard. It's really hard when you're working 10 hours a day. You're always thinking about work. You're always thinking about your retirement. It's just so difficult. And then my family, Assyrians, take off generally Sunday is like family day, generally, because it's church day, and usually go do a get together with family. So that's kind of the mimic. We're mimicking this, you know? Chad says, could you do parallel thing where you just exist in the same room and that's it? Like me and my partner? Absolutely. Yeah. Me and my friends? No, unless it's like, respectfully, 1, I don't live in the same place as my friends. And 2, unless it's my sister, unless it's like people that are like inner circle, no. Like I have stuff to do. Why are you in my house? Like, you know what I mean? I have things I want to do. But yes, for my partner, 1000%, we do parallel play a lot together, or sit next to each other on the couch with our own devices or something. I think that's really nice, but that counts as a date day, because again, it's about being with each other. It's about the intimacy. You know, it's about intimacy. It's about like, it's about carving out time where you can just be. You know, and sometimes even on our date days, we don't even stay in the same place together. Sometimes I'll go to the kitchen to cook, and sometimes they'll go to our office to play games, and then we'll meet up later. It's just about being free to do whatever we want. That's what it is. You know, it's just the freedom to breathe, you know?
You know, I feel like now the time that we spend together, it's stuff like grocery shopping, or maybe it is going to see our families, or it's to serve some broader purpose.
Functional.
Yeah, it's functional.
Yeah. Okay. So let's fix it right now.
Okay, yeah, and chat, great point, says, I spend a lot of time alone. I would love parallel play. I think that's the thing. Everybody's at a different juncture of their life, right? Like everybody's at a different time in their life. What works for me now won't be the same later. Like in 5 years, I could be in a completely different space. So remember that everything I'm saying isn't permanent. Everything I'm saying is just a reflection of where we are now, because everything could change, right? Maybe in the future, I live in a place where my friends are and they do come over every Saturday and they watch me fold my laundry. I don't know. But right now, that's just not a reality unless it's, again, like my sister's on the phone with me while I'm doing chores, fine. Because I can do things with my sister. I could take a shit while my sister's on the phone with me and I'm on mute. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a completely different dynamic. Most of my friends though, you're not gonna take me to the bathroom with you. Okay? Like I'm not going to the bathroom with you. Thank you. But with my sister, like, you know what? I used to talk to my sister in the shower. I used to have my cell phone on in the shower in my 20s and I would be taking a shower like, hey girl, how are you? Yeah. How are you? So like just, okay, everybody's got a different level of intimacy at play here.
If you both claim you want to have more unstructured, unfunctional time, make it happen for this coming week. What would you do?
Today, we both took the day off, so we were planning on having lunch together and walking around the area.
Great. Next week.
And then we were talking about joining a bocce ball league.
Great.
I was debating it, but I'm leaning closer and closer to just getting us those seats.
And when you say you were debating it, in your head, you were saying time, money, anything else?
It was those two.
Okay.
And then also we have my cousin and his brother come over on Thursday.
This is key. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is exactly what we've been talking about.
Those two.
Okay.
And then also we have my cousin and his brother come over on Thursdays, and the league that I'm looking at is on Thursdays.
So what are you going to do?
I was going to convince them to join. They might or might not, but I still want us to do it.
Great. I love that. The two of you come first. And if they want to join, great. And if not,
push off.
just say, hey, we've decided like we're going to be doing this. So Thursday's not going to work anymore.
Your marriage, but not at the expense of your community. Your community, but not at the expense of your marriage. Right now, her community is threatening the marriage. Right now, her husband is threatening the marriage by lying to her at the beginning, right? So herself, but not at the expense of her marriage. Her marriage, not at the expense of herself. Your marriage, okay? So like my community is so important to me, but my marriage comes first, period. Because this is who I'm doing life with, okay? Right? And this is different. When I say doing life with, it depends. Listen, I love my sister so deeply. She never wants to live with any of us. She loves her independence. She's not interested. She does not want to share bills. She's very secure in her life. Love my independent queen sister. Okay? That means we're not doing life together. We're not going to invest in a house. We're not going to invest in these things. And so who am I doing this with? Myself first and foremost. And then my partner. It could be a friend though. There are friendship relationships where you guys, I have friends, I have a bestie that she and I talked about it. I was like, would you buy a house with me? She goes, yeah, I'd buy a house with you. She goes, I know you'd be good for it and we could make an investment. I was like, okay, dope. That's maybe a possibility in the future. We could buy a house together, right? Like I'd buy a house with this girl. I trust her. I've known her so long. I trust her with everything for sure, right? It's like, there are those dynamics, but most people have first yourself, you are the first singular family you are a part of. And then you have your community. Liberate yourself from thinking you are an extension of your family only. And remember that first and foremost, you are your own family. Because guys, if your family is if you're an extension of your family, who's your family an extension of? Who are your parents? Are your parents, your grandparents in charge? No, your grandparents died, okay? They're dead. At least mine are. So God bless them, love them. But like, I don't want to live in that structure where like my parents have to answer to my grandparents. Like, what are we, 15? At some point, I'm too damn old to answer you. You know what I mean? To live my life like you, when the younger generation is supposed to know better than the old anyways, right? So absolutely not. Okay, I love my elders, but they're all gonna die before we even get to do our stuff. We got to do our stuff, okay? And that's what I'm saying, right? Jess says, does having a schedule that time in such a structured way feel oppressive at all? I think the idea of needing to schedule it all triggers my PDA. I'm a planning autistic, so I need a plan. If my partner's ADHD, so they don't like a plan. And the worst thing about our dynamic is probably how our ADHD and autism run up against each other. I need the plan because everything I do the night before is going to be about that plan. So are we spending time together tomorrow? Yes. Okay. I need to know this. Otherwise, there's so many things I need to do. I want to do other things. So if I'm making it a priority to do this thing with you, are we doing it? Yes or no? Right? So for me, it doesn't trigger my PDA. I think sometimes it could probably get in the way of the ADHD brain a little bit more, but I'm an organized girly. I need to know what we're doing. Okay. With that said, I also think that it allows me to shut off my brain from work. So if I know I'm not working tomorrow at all, I can say, Brittany, stop thinking about work. Rest. But if I, on a work day as an example, like, sometimes my partner will try to talk to me on a work day. I'm like, no, it's a work day. I'm working. I'll go like this. I'm working. And he'll be like, because when I'm working, guys, I'm 1000% locked in. My brain can do absolutely nothing else. Like nothing else is happening in my brain. And so if we want to spend any time together, I have to turn off my brain. But that's my autism. You know what I mean? But everyone's different. I also, frankly, to take it a step further, I love a day where I'm like, are we making love this day? Because I need to know. Because I would love to schedule it out. Because genuinely, like, I need to plan a shower and being cute and not thinking about anything after. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. Girl, in my 20s, I could fuck and then go to work. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm old. I'm not doing it. Okay? If we're going to be having sex, I'm going to need 3 to 4 hours and nothing after. Thank you. It's going to need to be an event. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to bring out the balloons. Okay? It's going to be a whole thing. Because, like, I don't have the energy. I don't have the upkeep. You got to take a shower and you got to clean up. You got to do all this. Like, I'm busy. I'm literally busy from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I'm literally working. So I don't know about anybody else, but I'm up at like 12 my time because I work for America, and I go to bed about 3 a.m. And from all of that time, I'm basically thinking about work on work days. Okay? So I don't have time to think about, it's like, get off me. Like, I'm just like, I'm like, focus. Okay? And so that's just, I'm going to be real. 37 years old, I'm busy. Okay? So yeah, anyways, if we're going to have sex, it's going to be a planned day thing. Thank you. Now, you know, sometimes we get into it spontaneously, but let's just be real. What a headache. I got to take a shower and I got to regroup. And it's like, you know, it's too much. It's too much. Okay?
More. It's totally okay.
Wait. Chat says, would you say this without capitalism? What does that even mean? Would I say what without capitalism? I'm 37 and disabled. My body hurts. I'm constantly spotting. I'm going through menopause. I'm fucking tired. Capitalism isn't going to change the fact that my body is bleeding all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying some of us are going through it. I get hot flashes. Like I don't even know what to say to you. I'm sweating constantly. I'm literally always tired. Get your dick away from me. Anyways, I'm married and asexual. It's fine. Demi, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes intimacy is about cuddling, kissing, vibrators, time spent watching One Piece. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just about hugging. Sometimes it's about making out. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Stop trying to stick stuff inside me. I hurt, right? Anyways, when I was younger, I thought I was going to have sex 4 times a day. But honestly, girl, I'm busy. There's other things I want to do. Okay? Okay, so don't be hard on yourself. And if you're young and you're like, I want to have sex forever, I love that for you, girl. If you can keep it up, do it. Listen, when I was at the BDSM dungeon, I would see 80-year-olds fucking, and that might be me later. Listen to me. When I'm 80, I might be fucking on a dungeon floor. I might be in an orgy. But 37-year-old Brittany is busy right now. And these hot flashes are ridiculous. Ridiculous, okay? Lay off. But we'll revisit everything in our 80s, okay?
What else?
I love watching movies. I would love to be able to, some weeknights during the week, maybe we go watch a movie, and it doesn't have to be a weekend. It could be like a Tuesday night.
Could you do it?
I want to say yes, but I still come back to the thing of because she's in grad school and we both work.
This is also the economy. So then this goes back to the commenter about capitalism. It is true that things like taking time off to see a movie is a lot harder because of inflation in the economy. So that stuff is definitely the economy. Going out to the movie theater seems like so much work for us. That is the capitalism. That is the economy. That used to be something so fun for me. And now I'm like, girl, I don't have the time. Okay, like it's too many important things to do. When I finish watching a movie, I'm like, oh my God, I accomplished something, which is ridiculous. So I usually catch up on movies on Sundays now, but it's ridiculous that used to feel like an accomplishment. Now I'm back to enjoying movies, but it took me a really long time. I skipped out on so many movies the last 6 years, okay? So that's the economy. That is definitely the economy.
Long hours. I guess the question that I have for you then is how do we reconcile this where for someone like Sana who is so organized and wants to control different factors of their life, and I know that I'm trying to control it because I don't want to go back to how last year was. How do I put in my head that maybe life could be better, kind of loosening the rope?
It's a good question. Life is better now. I think you would both agree. You have a debt payoff plan. You're more in control of the money. I think that's really good. What I'm hearing that you've both expressed in different ways, especially you, Sana, is I want to have a little bit more fun. I want to be more connected with each other.
I want to live my life in the most present. I want to live my life in the most present. That is what liberation is about. We're liberating our communities so they can live their life in the most present. We're liberating ourselves so we can live our life in the most present. We want to actually live our life. We actually want to be like, it's not about laboring. I love to labor. I love to work. I love to contribute to my community. I feel so fulfilled when I build something, when I make a great video. Like, this is so fulfilling for me. And I also would like to rest. I don't even want to go on vacation. That's what's so ironic is they're talking about they want to go on vacation twice a year. Beautiful. They want to see every country. I don't even want to do that, girl. My perfect life does not involve me traveling. I am a homebody girl. My perfect life is being able to have 20 minutes every day to go outside with my partner and eat on the balcony. You know what I'm saying? If yours is traveling with your partner, beautiful. I don't even need that. Everybody is different. It's all about what you need. What do you really want? What do you really need? Separate from what the world is telling you need. Because people have done this to me. Oh my gosh, like, Brittany, you don't want to travel? You can go fuck off with that attitude. Do not judge me. Okay, fuck off. You sound like every other judgmental person we've ever had to grow up with. Just because you want to travel doesn't mean I want to travel, girl. If you want to travel, great. I do not like it. Okay, I do not like it, Sam I am. Okay, I just want to vibe. Chad said so much partner talk. Okay, girlies, if you're single, transfer everything I'm saying into single mode. If I was single, I would still be vibing. My dream would be to have 20 minutes on the balcony with me and my cat or myself. Everything I'm saying applies to a single person's life. Everything I'm saying, because guys, I functionally live single. You have to remember this. Lock in. I'm the breadwinner. I'm making the single income. If my partner died tomorrow, my life would look the same. My life is what I would want it to be if I was single or partnered. The only difference is I'd be back in the United States if I was single. Because I'd probably be living next to my brother, or maybe I'd even kidnap my gay brother and make him live with me on purpose. You know what I mean? But the point is like, I would be single. So like everything I'm saying, attach it to your life as a single person because you are a family. You are a family, you know? You have to think about that. Chad said you aren't in the US? No, I live in Croatia. My partner's Croatian.
Still quite young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what's happening right now? Because to me, I'm feeling joy. And
okay, so he just finished going over their numbers. I time skipped. They just went over their numbers. They just went over their debt plan. They're going to be out of debt in like 5 years if they really lock in. Okay, but neither of them are excited at the prospect.
Reaction I'm seeing from you is concrete. It looks like I'm looking at concrete right now. What's happening?
I guess it's not really going to hit me until it's done.
Oh, so we have to wait another 10 years to feel it.
Well, no, I see this like, we're a sports team working towards a championship, and our championship is going to be paid off.
But you guys are not a sports team. You're husband and wife. It's different. I like goals. I like winning. Yes, but I don't want to only win with my wife. I want to be connected to my wife. I want to feel intimate. I want to feel joy. I even want to feel sadness. I want to feel. My wife is not my business partner.
We do laugh together. We're not only strictly business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think just when it comes to money, we end up turning into like
So-
these emotionless
Yes. Keep going.
and like regimented.
Yes.
But outside of this spreadsheet, we do have fun together.
What if money could also be fun?
Yeah.
What would it
Oh, P.S. Chat saying therapist hits deep. I don't know if this is. Remy is not a therapist. He's a financial coach. Just FYI, he's a capitalist financial coach. He just knows that money is about psychology. That's like the best part about Ramit's show. Because, yeah, chat, exactly. That's why I say money is about your childhood. Money is not about the economy alone. It is about your childhood, your trauma, your relationships. That's why I love money shows, because money is always about psychology. Every call is always about money. Like, I'm sorry, about psychology and trauma. Even if you listen to Dave Ramsey or anybody, if you listen to a serious finance show that isn't Caleb fucking Hammer, then it's seriously always about psychology. It's about your childhood. It's about the abuse you've had. It's about being in a bad marriage. It's always about, that's why I say like money isn't just capitalism bad, which we all agree, except for me here. But like Ramit's a liberal, so I do like him better than the other guys. But, you know, it is about your childhood. I mean, guys, I got into so much debt in my 20s because I thought I was going to kill myself. Until I stopped being suicidal at 30, I did not think about saving my money. I didn't even think about the future. And that's why being autistic and queer and old is such an honor, because girly, I was about to take myself out because of the world. And that's another part. Oh, can I say this? That's another part of liberating yourself. If I didn't liberate myself, I would have killed myself. Because I was so burdened by how the world was that I was like, I should kill myself. I already live in a world that doesn't accept me, doesn't love me, doesn't understand me. Like, what's the point? And then I was like, you know what? Why do I think I'm special? Like, why do I think my suffering is so uniquely special? It's real, it's valid, it's happening. But what is so unique about Brittany's suffering that she would kill herself for bigots? That she would kill herself because of hateful people? And I was like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to kill myself for you. I'm going to go live my best life. And one that ironically still creates a system where those people get supported, because I think everyone, even bigots, deserve healthcare and housing and education. And I think all of their children deserve liberation. And the irony is that I used my healing to turn around and give back to my community, which is why I think it's so important to liberate yourself so you can help liberate your community. It's just, I don't understand. They all go hand in hand, guys. Like, we don't exist outside of community. We're all connected. And that includes strangers on the street, people you see at restaurants, the way you act on the road, the way you act when you're in public, the way you act in my chat. Hey, the way you act in my chat is you showing up as a member of this community. Even if you're not a subscriber, even if you don't watch me, even if you're a hater, you're still adding to the ecosystem. Your hateful comments, your bigoted comments, they are impacting people's real life. And with all of this power you have, how could you wield it for so much evil? Philosophical evil, right? This is why I love philosophy. Like, think about it. Like, think about how much power you have to do so much good in the world, and just think about the one life you're living and how you're going to spend it, right? I hope it's not spending it trolling people, stalking people, harassing people, taking advantage of people. Like, I hope that's not how you're going to spend your one life.
look like if it were?
We can say yes to things without thinking twice about it.
Okay. What else?
The early part of our marriage,
Sorry, I keep pausing. Someone in Discord said, when you participate in community, you help people push their boulders. Exactly. So we're all pushing our boulders up the hill. And sometimes we end up getting tools along the way that helps make that boulder easier, which alleviates more opportunity and time for us to help other people with their boulders. Because we're all going to push boulders up hills. It's just a matter of, as a community, can we create a system that helps us all lift each other's boulders better so it's easier? There's always going to be a boulder to push. But damn, some help would be nice. And we can do that. We can do that. But remember that if you don't set your boulder up first and you try to go help somebody else with theirs, your boulder is going to come and squish you. It's going to roll back on you and squish you. So make sure you put like a little thing in the ground to hold it in place while you go help somebody else with their boulder. And then give each other the tools. Maybe you like imagine connecting like a rope or like a pulley machine. Maybe you guys design like a pulley machine to help each other. But not in a capitalistic, disgusting way that utilizes the labor and exploitation of people in order for people at the top to get rich. No, we all help each other with a pulley system to make it easier on everybody. Everybody benefits. And everyone benefits basically equally. It's not about a hierarchy. It's not about like, oh, we're helping the people. We're helping everybody. We're going to the very bottom and pushing everybody up. We're not going to the top and pushing people down. We're going to the very bottom and we're pushing everybody up. That's the goal. And guys, when we talk about liberating ourselves as individuals, you're at the bottom. Who's going to come and lift you up? You. And then you are going to go out to your community and uplift your, because remember, liberating your spirit is an internal process. It's personal and intimate. It's just about you. So your community can't do it. Your community can help you, but ultimately you have to make the decision, right? You have to make the choice with your limited free will.
We were prioritizing fun and going out to eat and, having a fun time with each other. But then maybe the message I took away is that the low point that we were at is because I prioritized that rather than this. I would say so, but maybe not in the way that I think it should be.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You wanted to come here and speak to me. Why?
I don't think this is the way that we should be. I think this is fine for us to do till maybe, let's say 2028, but I don't know if we should be doing this when we're like 35 years old and on.
Okay.
I wanted to learn from you, how can we be prepared now to be able to live that way later on?
Okay.
I'd say I wanted to come on here to feel less stressed when it comes to money. I think the joy that we feel when we look at this is like before we were this much under and now we're this much under, as in we're climbing out of the hole. But I think the true joy doesn't come from digging yourself out. It's to what you can unlock yourself to do with it.
Beautiful. True joy is not linear. True joy, in my experience, is not simply we did this and we got here, although that is great. It's a great sense of accomplishment of what you've been able to do individually and together. It's huge, huge.
Individually and together. You individually, your community, and together.
Having this plan is amazing. I rarely see a plan like this.
Okay, pause. Let me draw you a picture. So, just to solidify, okay, you are you as an individual. You are you with your family. Okay, here's your family. I'm going to put family. Okay, you are you if you have a partner with your partner. Okay, if you have a partner. Okay, you are you in relation to your community. I'm just going to put community, right? All different you, all different roles. And ultimately, this one is just as important as the rest. Sometimes in the world, we think the most important one is being our parents' kid, or being our partner's partner, or being our community member. But no, the most important one is first this one, because that's the beginning start of it. And then you extend yourself out. And then hopefully you get things back, because it's a symbiotic relationship. We work in symbiosis, hopefully positive symbiosis. Because remember, guys, you can have a negative symbiosis, but the goal is to get positive symbiosis out of this to make sure that we're working in a figure eight with each other. And I'm putting in, you're putting in, and none of us, it's never at the expense of, when we talk about exploitation, it doesn't just come from billionaires, it also comes from your family. Your parents can exploit you. Your friends can exploit you. Your loved ones can exploit you. Your partner can exploit you. So remember to choose well. Remember to discern. Remember to recognize you can be scammed and tricked. Remember that the strongest amongst us are still just feeling people at the end of the day, and we can get our feelings hurt. Remember that anybody could be a victim of scamming or abuse. Remember that even if your parents love you or there's unconditional love, which does exist, like, ultimately, you have to be open with boundaries, because unconditional love isn't always enough. It's beautiful, it's important, it's forever, and yet we're open with boundaries. Okay, so we're almost done wrapping up, by the way.
What I am gently suggesting to you is that you have created a life where everything must be functional to earn its way. We have to check this box. We have to achieve ROI on this. We have to have a plan that is paid off in this amount of time. All those things are good, but you didn't leave time for just being, just enjoying. And actually, you're spending so much time on things like this when it comes to money that there's no time left for a rich life, for just enjoying each other. What I'm trying to get you to see is that your entire worldview of your relationship with money is purely functional.
Yeah, I know Arham brings up every once in a while is like, I know we're doing better, but like, do you feel like our life is too structured? And our answer has always been like, we have to do it this way now. And then once we get to the light at the end of the tunnel, we can do more.
There's no light.
But we could integrate pieces of that joy now.
Yes, exactly. You get it. So what do you want to do? The debt payoff plan is solid. You're going to be paid off in 5 years. Hell, make it 10 according to your own calculations. Either way, you're in your 30s. Amazing. So it's done. It just needs time. What else? You have debt as well, right? You made a career change. How much is your debt?
In total, by the time I'm done with this program, it's going to be close to 100K.
Where's the debt payoff plan?
It's to the right of it.
So they keep going. There's a debt payoff plan. They're going to go through it. But the problem they're having, and let's wrap up. The problem they're having is they can't live in the most present because they are in this golden cage. They make $200,000 a year. They're in this golden cage. They're like, I'm going to save my family. I'm going to help people. I'm going to do all this. And then he goes on to say that he also wants to, in his ideal life, help his family out. Why are we saving all these people? Don't these people have jobs? Don't these people have abilities? Why are two people paying for two different families? Why are they helping out two different families? Well, you only make $200,000 a year. Like, are you rich? Why do poor people have rich people dreams? That's what I always wonder. Why do middle-class people try to live real rich people? You are not rich. You make good money, but you're not rich. Okay? Rich people dreams are for rich people. Okay? You're not rich. You must live a ordinary, joyful life. Okay? Making a basic income, enjoying your life, doing your best, thriving with your family. And P.S., I bet if you really got down to it, real family, real loved ones, they don't need all that fancy shit anyways. They just want to hang out with you, bro, at a barbecue, listen to some music, play some guitar. You know what I mean? Like, we're overthinking even what being with our family is. You know, we're overthinking it. Like, yes, I'm glad they want to travel, twice a year, but also like, is that really the thing you want to do with your most present life? Maybe. But how are you going to travel 2 times a year and take a vacation and pay for your family's bills on both sides? Come on now. Be realistic. Come on. So sit with yourself and say, what is the life I actually want? Because when Brittany was younger, she thought she wanted to be a capitalistic CEO, Miranda Hobbs and Miranda Priestley. Samantha Jones spent $10,000 on a Birkin, whatever, because I thought that would be fun. Also I had a dream of buying all my siblings used cars and buying a property of 50 acres and then racing cars on that property. I had a lot of dreams. Anyways, and now that I'm older, I'm just like, oh, not only are my siblings going to be okay ultimately, everyone's going to be fine, but ultimately, I just want to hang out with my siblings. I just want to see my family. I just want to hang out with loved ones. I just want to vibe. I just want to watch a movie together. I just want to watch anime and talk about stories, but I had this grandiose, I'm going to buy everybody houses. I'm going to buy a whole cul-de-sac out and my family can all live together. And the closer I get to 40, it's just like, what? What? This is so silly, but it was fun. You know why? Because when we were younger, all of us would get summer jobs and pay for dirt bikes and we'd race around the property and it was so fun as kids. And that was the first thing I ever bought myself when I was a teenager. I spent $1,600 on a dirt bike and I was like, oh my God, this is my dream life. And because I saw motocross on Disney, of course, if you know, you know. And yeah, I just wanted to make this life. But then as you get older, the reality sets in too of how different your family and you are politically, philosophically, bigotry. And then you realize you love your family, but at the same time, girl, I'm not living next to my Trump brothers. I'm not living next to my conservative family. I love them to bits and pieces. But if you know what I'm saying? If I hear anything, my peace requires me to leave my parents and cling to my wife. My peace requires me to leave my family and start my own, even if it's single. I know that I have truly liberated myself so far from my family structure that even if my partner dies, I'm not going back there. I love them so much. I love them more than I love anybody else on this planet, but I'm not going back there, girl. I used to think even prior to my partner, I used to think that I was going to center my life around my siblings and around their kids. And I just realized how much of an expense it was costing me, and I was like, I can't do this. I love you. I'll live close, but far. I'll live Auntie Brittany will be available, but far. And since she's married, she'll be very unavailable because she's far, but she'll be available on the phone. Stuff like that, So ultimately, when we have conversations about peace of mind, liberation, freeing yourself, first and foremost, it's about you. and then it's about your community, and then it's about both. Like nothing in what I'm telling you is ever about you isolating yourself away from community. It's always about bettering yourself to be better for community, but also making sure that you are the center of that community. Because also with peace and love, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that same community you're going to labor for might turn around and kill you one day. So be ready to die for your community, or because your community decides they're going to kill you. Because the truth is, a lot of our own communities are our murderers. Whether it's our brothers, husbands, fathers, mobs with pitchforks, people who decide homosexuality isn't it. So, labor for the community and hope you change minds. But, they also might murder you. So, tee-hee. Anyways, on that note, stay hopeful, because you're a good person, and you can't be the only one, right? You're a good person. So there's got to be billions more, right? How do I get together with those people is always my question. How do I find those people? This is kind of the start in some ways, right? All right. Oh yeah, Chad says ICE officers are all members of someone's community. You get it, girls. Exactly.